Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we're going to do a discussion essentially on what I would recommend if you're starting out your manga collection, if you're starting to get into the manga hobby. Anyway, before we get into it, because I do have to clarify that this is for people that are new into the hobby, because most of my audience is going to be people that are already into it. So I have to preface for you guys, is that there's 4 series that everyone probably recommends that I'm not going to talk about, or that I'm going to mention right now, but not actually recommend. And that's Dragon Ball, Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto. And the reason why I won't recommend these, although I think they're really good series, is because I don't feel that Dragon Ball is conducive to reading manga after you read Dragon Ball. Like you read Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and maybe Dragon Ball Super, and then you're done. Like, there's nothing beyond that if you start with that one. I don't know exactly why. I can't really tell you, but that's just kind of like the thing that's stuck in my head. It's that if you read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, you're done. Like, there's nothing, you won't be interested past that. And I don't necessarily know why. It's just kind of like how I feel. So I'm not going to recommend it, but it's a good series. At least what I remember of it. And then I'm not going to recommend the big 3, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece, because it's asinine to recommend 3 series that are huge as the first manga for anyone. It's kind of counterproductive if you recommend this giant series that's like, oh, hey, man, this is super good. It's 75 volumes long, but you're going to love it. It's great. And it's like, the amount of commitment that you're thrusting onto someone and the amount of dauntingness that comes with having to have 75 volumes of reading to do is huge. It's not going to help them want to get into it. It's actually going to be or feel more like a chore than something enjoyable. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible to get someone onto Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece and then like have them love manga after that. I'm just saying that if this is a completely new person that has no experience with this or very little experience, giving them 75 plus volumes is ridiculous. It's not helpful, and it's not useful in getting them into manga. They're great series. If you read some of the manga I recommend and then want to jump back into those, go for it. I think it's a very good experience. Naruto is my favorite one out of the 3, but I don't think they're good starter manga, if that makes sense. Now let's actually jump into the recommendations. So I have 4 recommendations. The first one is All You Need Is Kill. Now, All You Need Is Kill is a 2-volume series which you can only buy as a collected edition, a 2-in-1 collected edition. And it's generally a larger size than the standard tankobon, which is like the regular volume size. And it's very American friendly. It's very Western friendly because there's literally only 3 things to it. It's time travel, aliens, and a dude in a power suit. And that's kind of the whole thing. He's stuck in a loop and he's trying to figure out how to get out of it. It's very sci-fi, like movie type of a story, right? Like there's actually a Hollywood movie based on the book. Which is called Edge of Tomorrow. It's by Tom Cruise. He directed it and acted in it. He's like the main character. But yeah, it's a very fun, short series, and I think this is a very good introduction because you get to see a cool, interesting storyline. You get to see very nice art, and then you kind of get to experience a story that's similar but not exactly the same as what you would get from a regular American comic book or a movie or a TV show. And so it's really nice to whet your appetite with and then kind of go from there. Okay, sorry, I have to take a drink of my Jumex. Not sponsored though. Anyway, the next manga I recommend is Death Note. Now, Death Note is not necessarily very American friendly, but it has elements of regular American television or is similar enough to American television that people will enjoy it if they're not into manga and stuff beforehand. Because you follow this guy that has this power to kill people, and then he turns bad because power corrupts, absolutely, and he then has to kind of try to not get caught, right? And you follow a group of detectives that are trying to catch him, and then you have this really great cat and mouse game between the detective team and the guy that's killing everyone, and it's very compelling, and it's basically two super nerds fighting each other, at least for the first 6-ish volumes, I think. After that, it kind of takes a downturn, but overall the series holds up, and the fact that it's so short, 6 or 12 volumes depending on the edition you get, makes it so that it's a commitment, but it's not a large one. Whatever the case may be, the fact that it's not super large allows you a lot more flexibility and doesn't force you or make it feel like a chore when you're reading. However, Death Note is rather text heavy, so I'm not necessarily sure that this is going to appeal to everyone. If you like detective stories, noir, kind of Western, James Patterson-esque type of stories, you might like Death Note, but keep in mind that it's kind of an urban fantasy, so there's elements of magic in it, but that's all I'll say. Now, the next recommendation I have is kind of left field. It's out of left field because it's not very, it's very well known, and it's very enjoyed by a lot of people, but it kind of doesn't fit in with the rest of the list. Now, I want to recommend Komi Can't Communicate. This is another shonen title. With all of these are shonen, which means they're for young men between 13 to 18. And this one is actually a slice of life. Now, I'm not necessarily sure that a slice of life is a genre that we really have in the US or in the West, I guess. And so Komi Can't Communicate is basically that. It focuses on this girl who has immense, very severe anxiety, essentially. And so anytime anyone interacts with her, she freezes and can't talk to them at all. Now, this boy figures out that she has this problem and starts trying to help her out by writing instead of talking. And then they learn that she has a dream to have 100 friends before she finishes high school. So they kind of focus on that, and you follow their journey as she develops friendships with 100 different people. Now, it sounds kind of lame, but the power of it, the beautiful aspect of Komi Can't Communicate, is really in the nostalgia that it induces in you when you're reading. Because there's so many things and events that we take for granted growing up if we're able to communicate relatively normal. And seeing a girl that's in high school experience all of those things for the first time really impacts you, and it really kind of makes you take a step back and kind of have to reevaluate and kind of rethink what you're looking at. And it kind of just makes you sit down and think about all the stuff that you experienced that you didn't really care for, but that's actually really meaningful, in hindsight. And I really loved it because of that. But, well, it kind of really depends on your personal taste. And a lot of people would probably say that there's so many better slice of life series. But, well, I haven't read them, so I can't really recommend them, if that makes sense. Now, the last one that I want to recommend, it's because the series is so adaptable for Western audiences. So I want to recommend My Hero Academia. Now, My Hero Academia is a very basic premise. Again, it's about a boy that wants to be a superhero. Now, this boy sadly lives in a society ruled by superheroes, and he doesn't have a superpower. So he basically has to compete with them. However, during the first volume, which is not necessarily spoilers because he tells you in the very first sentence, he manages to get powers. He manages to get a superpower. In this world, they're called quirks. And then he enrolls into Superhero Academy, basically. And so then it kind of turns into a X-Men type of story. It's about society where having powers determines your status. And if you have good powers or bad powers, or if you're destined to be, if you have powers that are useful for a hero or not, kind of forces you into a different area of life or a different situation in your life. And it follows this boy as he goes through superhero high school, essentially Sky High, and it kind of deals with a lot of interesting things, right? About a society based on hero worship, about a society based around your genetic ability, about a society based around essentially power, like physical power. Although it's modern, so it's not really, but it kind of is still. And it's really interesting and it's really enjoyable. The artist is really good. Their art is really wonderful. And a lot of the different characters are drawn in different styles. So they all kind of look really unique. And I think this is really good for Western audiences because it is superheroes. Like, we have a huge superhero culture. Comic books have always been a thing. They were really popular in the 90s. And with the MCU, they kind of returned, basically. But this really follows a proper superhero story. A story about a kid that gains powers that has to choose to be worthy of them. But yeah, that's kind of like the last one I wanted to recommend. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you people that are new to the community join. You guys please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And hopefully my video helped you. And if you are already in the community, please let me know what you would recommend. I would really appreciate it if you comment down below and let me know. And if you disagree with my recommendations, please let me know why. And we can have a discussion about it. I would really be interested in that as well. So thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.